Hello and welcome to another Tech Articles. I knew I should have built this out on the video and split it into two videos at the time. I recently released a video on building out a template in the new email templates design builder for FlowMattic 5.1 version, and there's an article about it here. And I took this template here and turned it into a template on FlowMattic, and I've had a few people ask me how, and can I show how that was done? And I'm going to do exactly that today. I'm just going to very quickly go through this, and I have the original I've done here, and I will talk you through why I made the decisions that I made along the way. We're not going to get an exact copy of this, but I'm going to set it. I'm going to show you what I did, how I did it, why I did it, and we'll go through and we'll build it out. So this is the template. A link will be in the description below. As I say, not my template. I've taken a free template from here and turned it into one in FlowMattic. And this is a local copy of that template. And all I've done here is updated the images so that they load from my wpautomations.dev site. So this is what we'll be building it off. So if we go to my dashboard, I'll go straight to the email templates. I'm going to create a new template. I'm going to call it video, and I'm going to base it off this blank template. And we now have a blank template. So the first thing I'm going to do is stick in a container. No, a HTML. I think I did first actually last time round, but I think I want that in a container. So I'm actually going to put that in a container because I think that is what I want. So I'm going to delete that text. I'm going to put HTML in our container, and that's how I think I did it last time. Now I started on the first part of this block, and you're going to have to excuse me as I move around here. So I set this as HTML. My logic for that, so to speak, is, well, we're only going to need it once we set it, we forget it. I know, reading some of Nitin's comments in the Facebook group, that eventually there will be a way that we can automatically allow these to be viewed online, and same as some newsletter tools as well in terms of tracking, opening and stuff, but they don't exist yet. So in this, I'm just going to use a static variable that you can change for every run. And so actually this never needs to be edited. Once it's set and forget. So that's why I've done it as HTML. And what I've done, all I did was grab the header section of the original template and I stuck it in the HTML box like so. And you'll see we have a header. So the next thing that I did was add a block for the header and the image. So I'm going to put another container in. I'm going to put a heading in, and I'm going to put an image in like so. And this is what I did. And for this one here, we used our first bit, or second bit actually, of dynamic data, and I didn't actually change the value in here, so I'm going to do that now while I remember. And I have copied this across, so maybe I have already done it. Okay, you can see here I've replaced that view online with this view link dynamic data here. So here we're going to name this one now available, and we're going to do the same again, first name. Now keep your cases clear here. First name in lowercase is different from first name with capitalization. So in my suggestion here would be to keep everything lowercase. You're always on the way there. And the photo, I actually did exactly the same. I did it as a bit of dynamic data. So we're going to call this product image. I'm not sure that's what I called it last time, and just because I'm going to use it again, I'm going to see what I called it last time, and we will call it exactly the same. I called it headline image last time, so I'm going to copy and paste that across. So that's headline image, sample product, Perfect. So next we're going to stick in another container. So we're starting to get the build out as we are. And if we go over to our template, we can see here we've got some text. And I would say H2, H1, text, H2, button. So that's relatively straightforward. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to our template. We're going to stick 2 columns into our container, like so. And I said H2, H1, text, H2, and a button is what I think I said. And it doesn't look anything like it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our bits and pieces from here, and we are going to make this our H2, like so. And while I'm here, I'm just going to change the color to, it's not exactly the right red. And then we're going to change this to a H1, which was this one here, like so. And I believe that is black. Yeah. Our text, we're just going to copy that text and dump that into our text block, like so. This is our price, so we're going to grab that and change its color, like so. And we'll change its text color to that same horrible red. We've got our button. We're going to change our button color to the same horrible red. It's white. It says more details. More details. And we're going to add some additional dynamic data here, because I suspect you'll want to set this on a individual basis. So more details. Now, how you would build this up if you were really going to send this out is you would have each one of these to be their own dynamic data, but it will get really complicated really fast if we do that and build it in FlowMattic. So I want to give you a good example of the dynamic data, but also not spend 400 hours working on the design. After all, this is an example. So I think we are pretty much there. You see, I'm not even following my own advice, so I'm going to lowercase that. So we've got some more dynamic data. So we've now got 4 bits of dynamic data already. So again, we're going to put a container in, and again we're going to put 2 columns in, I believe, next. So let me go have check that. So yeah, we've got a container, 2 columns, and we've got text. I did this as markdown, text, markdown, text, markdown, text, markdown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly that. So I'm going to do heading plus text, heading plus text, heading plus text, heading plus text. And we now have the basis of our work. So I'm going to quickly copy this, and you can see here they're not bold. So what we're going to do here, we're going to paste our headings in, and we are going to make them regular. I'm going to do that for all of them so that they're all done in one go. Now I think they are all, yep, they are all the same color, so that's all good. Now for our text block, I'm going to use Markdown. And the reason I'm going to use Markdown is because it's quick and easy, and I'm just going to copy this Markdown block in here, like so. And on the actual design, it doesn't look right, but in the final version, the Markdown will be processed. So this one here, for speed, we're going to go property info. This one here, we were calling lease length. And this one here is features. And they each have a block of data each. And again, this is a markdown block because we want the bullet points. Now, again, you would probably, in a real world situation for this template, have all of this being dynamic data or pulled from somewhere else via in your flow and then coming out that way. So there's nothing to say that you couldn't have a HTML block, put a data block in it, and then populate that HTML from your flow. And last but not least, another markdown block, and we had some additional features. And we're pretty much coming together now. So our next step was 3 images and the heading of photos. So we've got a heading, 3 images. So we want a container, a heading, 3 column, 3 column, image, image, image. So this is quite an involved one. So I'm going to put another container block in. We're going to put a header. We're going to put a column, and we're going to put a column like so. And that's just a H2 header with no bold. So we'll just change that over to photos. We'll leave it as that, and we'll put it as regular text. And for our photos, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to grab the images as they are, and I'm going to just put them into images like so. Images, 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 image, image, and I'm going to quickly go through and update these from my list over here, and that's the wrong one, so we'll do that one next. That one's there, this one is here, and as I say, all I've done is uploaded those to the I just made a mistake there. Hopefully I can get that back. So we want that one. For this one we want this one, this one we want this one, and on my that's not right. This one, this one. Let's try that again. Yep. And I think we want this one for this one. And we do. So this one here, on my example video, I actually made this dynamic and the same as this one up here, but I said they're actually 2 different photos. So if we go to my template that's here, I should be able to copy this URL, copy image address, and we should be able to put that in here so we can see it. So if I take that out there and put that in there, and there you go, we've got our actual item, and I think they are different. So let's have a look. Open it, copy image URL. Let's put that one in there as well. Yeah, they are. So they are 2 separate. You can see image 1 and photo 1. So I'm going to, in this example, I'm going to leave them as they are in the base, but you can see I've already added those in quite comfortably, and we're starting to get quite a shape for our email. Next is another container. Again, really, really simple. Header, text, button. So again, we're going to add a container. We're going to add our header. We're going to add our text, and we're going to add our button. And like that, our CTA is built. So I'm going to copy the details from here, like so. I'm going to copy our block of data from here, like so. These just need to be normal text and buttons. I'm going to check this. This is not bold, so we're going to fix that. Regular, that's like that. We've got our item. Our button is that same red color. It says more details again, I believe, the same as up here. So I'm going to copy this URL. Dynamic data. We're going to go here and say more details, and we're going to dump that back into here. And we're going to take one more look at this. That's all left-hand side, so that's good. I need to make some adjustments here. Actually, we need to set that to the top. Where else? Let's have a look. I'm relatively happy with that. So we'll now move on to our last section, which is our footer. And again, I did this originally as HTML because to me, it's not going to change all the time. You'll have an unsubscribe link in there. But again, that was dynamic data, and I've already done all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to here. I'm going to put another container in. Inside that container, I'm going to put a HTML block. And in that HTML block, I'm going to put our footer. And you'll see down here, as we go to unsubscribe, that we have a link in here with our unsubscribe data. So we have unsubscribe as dynamic data. We have more details as just dynamic data. We have the image as dynamic data, the first name as dynamic data, and the view online as dynamic data. So we have quite a bit of dynamic data set up here. So now I'm going to save this, and that's been saved. The next thing we're going to do is start working on our dynamic data. And you'll see it doesn't automatically populate. We have to do this ourselves. And it follows a standard format. So in this case, it's going to be view link, like so. We're going to add a colon, and we're just going to put a hash in each of these, really. And in fact, I'm just going to copy that for speed. And then we've got our more details, which again, colon, space. I might even do this like this speed. In fact, I'll even take the closing speech bubble. So then we've got unsubscribe, like so, and we'll paste that in there. Then we've got our headline image, like so. We'll paste that in there, which is good. And then we have our first name, which is like so. And we will delete the extra speech. And these should all have a comma after the end of them, otherwise they won't work. So let's do that now. The last one doesn't need that, but we do need to close our brackets. So this should now work as intended. I'm going to save that again. Template is saved. I'm going to refresh our template, check our dynamic data is all there. It looks like it's all there. So we've got view link, more details, unsubscribe, headline image. Is that correct? Yep, headline image. And we've got first name, which is correct. So that should be our dynamic data. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to now go back to our workflows. I'm going to head to sending newsletter, and I'm going to change the template that we used in our configuration to our new one, which we called video. And we get our data available here, and we're going to leave our data as it is, and we're going to continue and save that. We're going to save our workflow, and I'm going to send a test item, and then what I'm going to do is load my emails. So that's been sent. Okay, so we have our email here, and it's got our view link in it. We've got our first name. We have our nice product image. We have our more detail link. We have our more detail link, and we have our unsubscribe. And this is what it actually looks like when it's sent. So you can see that the markup, although it doesn't show in the builder over here, although it doesn't show up in the builder, it does show up in the final send with bullet points ready to go. And that is how I built this. Now you can see here actually that there is some issue with the header and the footer where they've come out. We can correct that. So if we go back to our builder, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove the padding. Yeah, so I'm going to remove our left and our right padding and spread them out a little bit. And the same, I'm going to do the same here. Go to our container, remove our padding, and that's made some difference. It might even be worth removing these out of a container full stop if we can't get this to do what we want it to do. Oh, there we go. There we go. So now let's go to our HTML, go down. We've taken it off our padding, off our container and our HTML block. That's it saved. And what we're going to do, go back to our workflow, and we're going to test that action again. We'll delete this one. We'll delete this one. And in a second, we should get a new email. And we show our images, and that looks much better. It's in line. It looks much, much better. Looks like we can make a couple of adjustments up here. But all in all, we are pretty much there. It does definitely look like we can make a couple of adjustments up on this one here. I'm sure I've got them all. Maybe I missed one. Maybe I missed a container. I did miss the container. There you go. And there we go. Done. So we now have our images. We'll test that action again. And that's sent. We'll delete this. And when this comes in, it should look much more like the email template we had. And that is how I built the template from that example. And that is much better now. We're all in line. We look more like the original. And you can see I've used a good mix here. So we've had our HTML, our titles, our images, again, titles, text, title, button. We've used some markup for some markdown, and we've got some photos in columns. And this is why the FlowMattic email designer is so advanced in one way, because it allows you to build this out like this. It's got good design. Having read some of Nitin's comments in the Facebook group this morning, he's looking at loops and other stuff for this to make this really quite powerful. And yeah, you can mimic what you want relatively well. So I think as long as you can use Gutenberg, this is pretty easy to use, actually. You saw how quickly I've managed to build that out and do that. It probably took me 10 minutes or so to work out exactly how I was going to build it in terms of the different layouts and to do some testing. But that's pretty much the process of building out that email template in the new email designer in FlowMattic. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.